YOLO. Ain't worried about no FOMO. Coin market cap out the crash on my left when the bitch bounce back like a pogo. No fiat dough, I got Divvy coin, I got Bitcoin, I got Ether. What y'all know about a pump and dump? John McAfee all of my tweets.
Justin from Crypto Fizz, and I got Billy on the line today. We're just going to do a quick podcast today. If you've listened to our podcast in the past, you know that we normally do weekly podcasts every Monday, but we've been talking about spicing them up a little bit and doing some random ones here throughout the week when, you know, certain news came out and whatnot. We wanted to do the podcast today based on an article that Billy wrote called The 2-Week Portfolio, How to Invest Like a Crypto Millionaire. Hell of a headline there, Billy.
Thanks, Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, we're big, well, Billy especially is big Tim Ferriss guy, and if you haven't checked his stuff out, 4-Hour Work Week podcast, I don't know, Billy, you can elaborate a little bit on what he does.
Yeah, so I like Tim Ferriss because he's really tactical. I mean, every podcast, every blog post, there's a very tangible takeaway, something you can use and actually, put it into practice and whatever it might be. So I wanted to kind of take a cue from him and do the same thing, but with regard to investing in crypto. So yeah,
but that was with specifically the headline there you're talking about.
Oh yeah. I mean, so the headline specifically too, it's very Tim Ferriss-esque. He's very good at crafting headlines that get your attention.
So let's dive into that headline there, the 2-Week Portfolio, How to Invest Like a Crypto Millionaire. So we post this on Reddit, Facebook groups, a few other places. We're actually in the BTC News app now. Our podcast, if you're a listener, is now on iTunes, Google Play Store. We're going to be added to Spotify here in the near future. You can find us also in like the Overcast podcast app and a few other apps out there. So be sure to check us out. But to dive into this article a little bit, so there's different investment methods that we use here, Billy. I mean, there's day trading, we have swing trading. I think the best way to kind of coin this one that you're talking about in the article would be catalyst trading, would be, kind of the best description.
Yeah, and, for me, I think swing trading can have separate paths. So catalysts can kind of fit under that bigger brand of swing trading. So for me, I like to use certain catalysts to actually drive my investment.
Can you elaborate a little bit on what like a catalyst is?
Yeah, so I guess I want to back up a little bit, because the reason why I use this type of trading is because I have I want to hit certain numbers as far as portfolio value by a certain date. So some people are totally fine with investing in a given thing and holding it for 5 years, and that's totally fine. For me, I want to hit a certain number, a certain net worth by a certain date. So I'm basically working backwards. So what that means is I'm using these catalysts, aka hot events, quote unquote, in this article. Basically, I'm finding, say, a given coin's product release or a rebranding, or something that's actually planned out on their website, and they're going to tell you, we're going to launch this thing on this date. So what I like to do is
buy the rumor, sell the news, right?
Exactly. It's very old school. I mean, it's exactly what it is. So I'm using that kind of traditional investing method and applying it to crypto.
Yeah, because, I mean, you and I both know, I mean, and if you haven't been in crypto long, if you've been in it a long time, you'll know this. Crypto, a coin could shoot up 20% just based on a tweet. So what we're talking about here, what Billy's going to kind of go over, is based off not necessarily tweets, but something to back those tweets. So like actual events that are happening with a coin.
Exactly. So I guess I wanted to bring this up and share it today because, we spend a lot of time on social media doing research and browsing and participating in the community. And the one thing that I notice a lot is people are asking, should I buy this? When should I get in? When should I sell? Et cetera, et cetera. So I guess for me, it was very natural to kind of provide at least one way of doing it, and that's how I kind of laid out with this article.
It's funny to me what you said there, though, just to touch on that point. I'm in all these Facebook groups for crypto, and every single day there's a post in there. How do I buy this? When should I buy this? It's like, you know, and we're the first to tell this on every podcast and everything. We're not financial advisors. Do your own research.
Exactly.
I do think it's funny that people just take some random person's word in a Facebook group on when to buy something and how to buy something. Crazy. Crazy.
Like all the time. And for me, this is something that it's taken me many years to kind of figure out. This has kind of been a trial and error situation. I've lost a pretty good chunk of money in traditional stocks, just trying to chase things like what most of these people are doing. They're trying to catch this spike as it's happening. And it's like you have to have a hair trigger finger, and even that most of the time isn't enough. So what I'm trying to do and what I do is I basically find these different catalysts, the ones that really sound good to me, and I get in early and I just hold. And I will wait. And it could be 2 weeks. It could be a month. Fun. We've been in for over a month.
Yeah, we were in fun because of the ICE Gaming Conference that was coming up, and then hopefully their public release that's going to be in the near future. So those are like two big ones. But, going back to kind of the article here, what is your first, and you guys can check this out. The link to the article is going to be below in the podcast. But, I think I actually showed you the site that you pointed out in the article a while ago.
Yeah.
But what's the first site you usually go to check these catalysts?
Right. So kind of the first step is finding your investment. So one of the sites that we use is it's a calendar. It's called coincalendar.info, and it's spelled out just like it sounds. So basically what we would do is, click that link to coincalendar.info, and you're going to go to the site where it's a calendar. And so what you can do is pick out, I kind of specify a time period of about 2 weeks from the day that you want to jump into something. So for example, let's say I wanted to pick something today to invest in. I would jump in and look for something 2 weeks out. So, roughly March 1st. That's going to be our catalyst date. So I would look in, see what's going on at least March 1st, if not later. Then I would jump in. So the one way I kind of parse through all the things that are listing out there, because sometimes you'll have more than one thing going on for a day. So I'll start browsing around and try and find things that sound appealing to me. And typically those things include like a public launch of a product. Because so projects can have different phases. They can have like an alpha phase, beta phase, whatever. And most people don't get excited until it hits like a public release, because then the tokens are real. It's not test net. It's actually the main net. So there's actually real money behind these things.
That's like you didn't mention this one in your article, but one that we're concentrating on right now for this month is the Syscoin public release. So that's a big one right there. Exactly.
They're their main net release. So they're basically transitioning everything into like a real live product, real live blockchain. So yeah, that's a big one, and that's what I look for the most part. That live product release. Something else that really does well is a rebranding. The one example I give in the article here is NEO. So we actually found NEO when it was called Ant Shares. And so that was actually a combination of things. They're actually going to be actually launching their public product, but also rebranding. So we got the two for there. And that thing went nuts that month.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about NEO back when, Ant Shares rather, and it was under, I forget what the price was. It was probably $5 or less, or $10 or less at the time. And then after the rebranding hit, it shot up something like.
It within a couple days. I want to say, I'll have to go back and look at it now, but it was a very short time span. It 5x'd.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was like a week. I mean, it could have been a weekend. I can't remember, to be honest, back in like June, July. But yeah, that one worked out really well. And that was kind of the big one. That was the one that like really proved this method.
So if they're looking at, if any of our listeners are on coincalendar.info right now, or even looking at your article, what's the one that you pulled from there as an example that you wanted to kind of discuss?
Yeah, so one that I actually kind of highlighted on the article was a project called Lisk. And so the actual title on that event is Lisk-Relaunch. They're rebranding the website. They're going to be launching their Lisk desktop platform, and they're also launching their Lisk web app. And so for me, kind of the big takeaways here are, for one thing, I've actually heard about Lisk before. It's gone nuts in 2017. I think it went up like a couple 1,000%. So that's one thing, is I've actually, I know the name.
It was already on your radar.
It was already on my radar. So that's kind of a big thing. Two, they're going to be rebranding, or actually, making their brand a little more sharp. And then three, they're actually going to be dropping these products. So this is something that's going to be happening on February 20th. So it's actually only 5 days out. But I still think it's going to move quite a bit.
Well, if you look at Lisk right now on CoinMarketCap, it's already up 11% just today.
Nice. Yeah, and I say that because the chart hasn't spiked in the past couple of weeks, and that's typically what you're looking for when you're going to do like step 2. So let's say we found a product that we liked. So we like Lisk, or we like the sound of it. The second step would be to go to basically a website that can give you some kind of graphical reference that has charts. So we use coinmarketcap.com. And I really like that website because it gives you essentially more real estate from a left to right side of the screen perspective. So you can kind of scale out and see a bigger time period all at one time. And so what we're looking for is sort of a stable price that we can jump in. You don't want to jump in once it's already kind of climbed. So yeah, we're trying to make sure that we aren't buying it in a place that's top heavy.
Yeah, or if you use like RSI, you don't want to get it where it's overbought or anything at that point. So
yeah, there's definitely technicals you can look for. I just referenced there. And so for me, I kind of look at it just from a visual perspective, what it looks like, because I'm a visual guy, and there's different ways to do it. You can use technicals, you can use just a visual line plotted out there. So, I mean, as I'm looking at the chart right now, the 3-month chart for Lisk, it's pretty flat for the most part, the past 2.5 weeks, or 2.5 months rather. So that kind of tells me it's a safe place to jump in. But we are seeing this last about week or so, from the 5th to the 12th, it is starting to climb up a little bit. So if I was going to invest, I would actually jump in. It hasn't really moved up too much yet.
Now, I mean, that could be a part of that move up that it's even had from the 5th to the 12th is the fact that Bitcoin's gone from $8,000 to over 10 today. So, I mean, really,
Sure.
it could be the Bitcoin price. So it's not really Lisk per se getting the traction that that it's going to get yet for this catalyst.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, certainly, Bitcoin is definitely bringing everything else up with it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then the third step is just the biggest question here is, besides finding the thing you want to invest in, the big question is, when do I get out? And so that kind of all comes down to, it's very subjective, right? So some people might be more comfortable with a 10% return. Some want to be more aggressive and get 50%. Some want to go to the moon every time for 100, 200%. So it all comes down to, do you want to be reasonable and be safe about it and get your consistent 10%? Me, I like to find a nice middle ground. So typically I like to pull out right around 50%, maybe even 75% if I'm feeling ballsy. So what you can do is from the time you buy in, you can calculate what 50% would be from that point. And then you can go on your exchange, well, let's say it's Bittrex, and actually create a sell order for that 50% profit price in Satoshis. That way, if it hits it and you're not watching those charts that day, boom, it already sold for you, and you're out back grilling hamburgers and hot dogs, and you made your 50%, and it's a done deal. There's no stress. You aren't watching any kind of levels.
That's big key there that you said was Satoshis, because a lot of new investors in crypto, they just look at the USD price or the fiat price. And, you can have a coin that's 1,000 Satoshis worth, I don't know, I'm just throwing out random numbers here, but 1,000 Satoshis, and let's say it's worth $1. But if Bitcoin goes up in price and that coin is still 1,000 Satoshis, that coin's going to be worth more, but technically you have theoretically lost Bitcoin in that process there because it hasn't, So that's one thing that people have to just understand. You're doing this normally in Satoshis because of those pairings that are on these websites.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So and one other actually point on that, one other question with what you were saying there. So let's say you like to take about 50%. I know you from what us talking day to day, but talk a little bit about like at that 50% mark, you don't necessarily sell everything. You sometimes scale out of it, right?
Yep. Yeah. So that's something else. That's a good point. I've kind of made the mistake in the past, basically taking this strategy as I've laid it out and following it to a T. And then come to find out, say NEO, for example, I sold out of my position. I made my money. I was happy with my return on that, but I didn't keep any for the long term. And so I'm sitting here without any NEO. And since I sold, it's like tripled in price. So what I've done now is I'm pretty much taking about 75% of my overall position and cashing out once I hit my predefined level of return. I'm keeping that other 25% in long term, at least a year, could be 5 years.
Excuse me. You're basically taking the profits that you made, leaving that invested in the coin, and then taking what you initially kind of put in a way out and reinvesting that in other places.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's smart. I mean, I've done it before many times in the past where I've hit my number that I want, just like you said, sold out, and then next thing you know, the coin keeps going up, and I'm like, damn, why didn't I stay in it? So I'm looking at longer term holds like that myself, but still doing some of this catalyst and swing trading like you do.
Yeah, and something else to kind of underscore too is one of the big things here that we haven't really touched on, and I briefly mentioned it in the article, but the one thing that's really important is finding a project that you really believe in, because then if you don't reach your numbers, you can always hold it. And it's not some, coin that's a pump and dump. So if it's a really good project and there's a catalyst, that's ultimately what you're looking for. There's nothing worse, and I'm guilty of this, is chasing something that has like really low volume and you're getting in just because it has a low market cap. It's basically like a penny stock that just doesn't have much going for it besides one or two metrics like that.
I'll call myself out on that. Just over the last couple of days, I've got things that I'm invested in for long term. Like we talked about CIS. We talked about, I've got Bancor. I've got Basic Attention Token. I keep rattling them off. Funfair, various different ones that I'm invested in for long term. But the other day I saw TKY, the key, and it's only on KuCoin right now. And it's going to be listed on Binance soon. It's like 3 cents. I said, well, then what the hell? I'll put one Ethereum into it and just see, what it's going to turn out to be, But
and I'm not sitting here saying like don't do that. Like it's always fun to bet on a dark horse, And I guess for me, what I'm getting at is, for me, it's all about stress levels. Like I really enjoy. I don't like chasing stuff. I did that for years, and it's just really stressful. It's not fun. It is fun when you have time to sit there and watch stuff all day. But what I really enjoy is like that Warren Buffett mentality where I can sit back and check on it every couple of days, every couple of weeks. And the whole thing is like I've realized that in that 2 to 3 week period that you're holding, just kind of sitting back and chilling, a lot of times it's going up 200 or 300%. And people don't realize that because they're all focused on that launch date, like that catalyst date, where it'll spike maybe 100%. And everybody's trying to catch that wave as soon as possible. But nobody's watching it the weeks leading up to that event, which end up being more than the spike on that one day.
Yeah.
So it's the best of both worlds.
So moral of the story basically is to kind of break this article down to a T. It's, step one, research. So use something like CoinCalendar.info, look at Catalyst, use Reddit, whatever, Twitter, whatever you can find these catalysts on. Next step, stock twits. You find something that you like that's got a good team behind it. Try to get in, a couple weeks out from that catalyst. You'll catch that run up, and then right around, depending on your stress level, but what we suggest is right around day before, the conference rebranding, whatever it is. Maybe that's when you dump some of your position there, because that's when everybody else that's late to the game is wanting to buy in their position at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. Smart money's getting out when dumb money's getting in.
Exactly. So that's pretty much it to a T. Is there anything else that we haven't covered yet in your article that you wanted to kind of touch on before we closed out this special podcast?
No, I think that's it. It was, pretty straightforward, and pretty excited about getting on Spotify. I'm a huge fan of that platform, and I think this is going to be our 5th episode, so it's going to qualify.
Yep, we'll be getting on there today. So like I said before, we're on iTunes, Overcast, Google Play. We're going to be on Spotify soon. Check us out. Check out CryptoFizz.com. And one thing that I want to just say to close this out today is that we talked about this on other podcasts. We do this as our site for fun. We do these podcasts for fun. We have never received a dime, from payments or anything like that. If you do want to support us, check out our site. If you haven't heard of the Brave browser before, Brave browser is built by the founder of Mozilla Firefox, the guy that created JavaScript, for God's sakes. He has created the Brave browser. It's integrated with Basic Attention Token. Brave browser is the fastest browser that I have ever used. Billy, you concur with that assessment?
Yep.
It's amazing. It blocks ads, it blocks trackers, pretty much everything. But if you want to support us, go to CryptoFizz.com, click on that link in the top right for the Brave browser. You'll see the kind of banner ad up there in the top right. Download the browser and just give it a go. The browser is totally free for you to download, but if you download and use it for 30 days, they'll give us a little referral kickback for getting people onto the platform, for helping grow the platform. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to pay anything, and you will help support CryptoFizz in that way. So definitely check it out and look forward to our upcoming articles. And actually, on this topic, I think we should do a special one next week on how to place a limit sell order. So that way you only lose a small percentage if the coin does drop.
I think it's a great idea. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll do that next week. So thanks, Billy, for writing this article. It's awesome. We've gotten a ton of traction from it. And if you want to invest like a crypto millionaire, check out the article on CryptoFizz.com.
Have a good one, guys.
Have a good one. Later.
Even my son told me about the dip, ain't talking about what you put on potato chips. Even my son told me about the dip, ain't talking about what you put on potato chips. I buy the dip, dipping. I buy the dip, dipping. I buy the dip, dipping.